Chapter 181. Why did you run over here? Arba glanced at him. I came to join you guys. Duan Yu replied with a chuckle. You don't need to care about your second junior brother and the rest? Arba pointedly lifted his chin in Daybreak Sect's direction. Shang Kuan and the others were looking over with unsightly expressions. They're all adults and have the ability to move on their own. Why would they need me to lead them? Duan Yu waved his hand. Jojo, we've been through fire and water together. We're natural teammates. You're praising yourself. The Holy Water Sect's 7 fairies harumphed. First Peak's eldest senior sister, Su Shanshan, rudely pulled Duan Yu aside and tossed him aside. Stay away from my little junior sister. Little junior sister, let's go over there. We'll pick some reliable teammates. This youth has a glib tongue and flirtatious eyes. He doesn't look like a good person. Come back. How do I look like a bad person to you? Young Master Situ of the Heavenly Tao Sect. Whispers spread through the crowd. Young Master Situ is here. Young Master Situ is the son of the Heavenly Tao Sect's sect master. He's the undisputed number 1 among the Heavenly Tao Sect's youths. Many disciples in the plaza looked ahead with reverence. Su Shanshan supported Arba. When she saw the crowd ahead, she frowned and pulled Chao Iran to the side. The handsome youth who walked through the crowd was about 16 years old. His black robe accentuated his tall and slender figure. What a handsome youth with dashing eyebrows and bright eyes. However, Chao Iran's focus was a bit different. The first person she saw wasn't Situ Yi. Instead, it was Lu Yexin, who had once been beaten up by Chao Iran, who was jogging behind him. Chao Iran couldn't help but roll her eyes at Lu Yexin's infatuated trailing. Where did the passion she had when she saw the Crown Prince go? The Lu Yexin who sweetly called brother Crown Prince, didn't you change a bit too quickly? Why did you change men in just a few days? Love-struck fool. Chao Iran harumphed. The rich Crown Prince was so hot and handsome. He didn't need this love-struck fool to like him. You have no taste. Idiot. Humph. Jojo, do you also think that Situ Yi's dog-like appearance is very attractive? At some point in time, Duan Yu had wandered to the child's side and leaned over under Su Shanshan's stern gaze. He followed the child's gaze and looked in Situ Yi's direction. What Situ Yi? Chao Mu didn't pay any attention to that young master from Tiandao sect at all. Her gaze was cold as she stared at Lu Yexin. Even Lu Yexin, who had been infatuated the entire time, could not ignore her attentiveness. Why are you here? Lu Yexin pointed at Arba, her infatuated look turning into a vicious one. Someone come quickly. Help this young miss get this little brat. Ouch. Before Lu Yexin could finish throwing a tantrum, the child pounced to her side like a ray of light and smashed her little fist into Lu Yexin's left eye. Everyone was dumbstruck. Situ Yi, who was extremely annoyed by Lu Yexin, had his eyes lit up. He silently moved to the side to make room for the child to play. He looked like an onlooker who didn't mind watching a show. The child's soft and fair hands threw out a heavy punch. After a few punches, Lu Yexin cried for her parents and repeatedly begged for mercy. Duan Yu couldn't help but cover his face. Were all children this savage these days? Everyone. Lu Yexin, how dare you bully my little junior sister? Su Shanshan, Li Ling, and the other 7 Holy Water Sect disciples rushed over and angrily rebuked. Chapter 182. Everyone suddenly felt some sympathy for Lu Yexin. It was clearly Lu Yexin who was beaten black and blue, and it was also Lu Yexin who was crying out in pain. Why did the 7 fairies turn it into Lu Yexin bullying little junior sister? Senior sisters, let's talk things out, let's talk things out. The oldest disciple of the Heavenly Tao sect rushed forward and hastily stopped the 7 fairies. What a joke. If these 7 young misses attacked, how could Lu Yexin survive? Senior sisters, and little junior sister, let go. The senior brother twitched his mouth and finally managed to make the child loosen her grip on Lu Yexin's collar. The senior brother of the Heavenly Tao sect smiled apologetically. The three sects are of the same breath and branch, and we're all senior and junior brothers and sisters. We need to cooperate more on this trip to Qinghe Town. We mustn't damage the harmony between us because of a misunderstanding. Senior brother Wang is right, Su Shanshan said coldly. However, if someone wants to step on the lion's head and bully my little junior sister. Su Shanshan's scabbard lightly swayed, revealing half of her sword. My sword will let her know how fragile life is. Everyone, senior sister, Lu Yexin really wasn't bullying little junior sister. How blind are you? Moreover, who would dare to bully you? Aren't you afraid of being killed by Peak Master Morong? Everyone simultaneously shifted their gazes to little junior sister. Speaking of which, when did the Holy Water sect have a little junior sister? Senior brother Wang smiled and cupped his hands. That's right, that's right. The three sects advance and retreat hand in hand and encourage each other. The Holy Water sect's little junior sister is also our three sects' little junior sister. We can't wait to dote on such a little sister, so why would we bully her? Su Shanshan's expression finally eased. She nodded and walked to the side while holding Arbor's hand. Gu Qingfeng, whose heart was in his throat, breathed a sigh of relief. Why did the three sects always have to bicker with each other? It wasn't good for dogs to bite each other. Thankfully, this small disturbance was resolved, and City Lord Gu appeared with a smile. Everyone, the City Lord's estate has gathered 7 mystic cultivators, 15 body cultivators, and 18 superhumans to assist the three sects' disciples to head to Qinghe Town. It's up to you all to decide how to distribute the personnel. Those 7 mystic cultivators will be assigned 2 people to each team. The 15 body cultivators were assigned to teams of 5 people, the 18 superhumans were assigned to teams of 6 people, and the extra mystic cultivator was assigned to the senior sisters of the Holy Water sect. What do you all think? Senior brother Wang suggested. Sure. Duan Yu nodded. Su Shanshan also nodded slightly. Then the Holy Water sect will go and pick people first, Senior brother Wang said with a smile. Little junior sister, do you want to pick one? Su Shanshan stroked the child's head lovingly. The child looked up at her and nodded before bouncing over to the 7 mystic cultivators. He took out a talisman from his pocket and flicked it. Stop. Fix. Freeze. Everyone was speechless. Why did he feel so inexplicably funny? Just the 2 of them. The child reached out and took the hand of the 2 young men who were a little confused. Both of them had removed a talisman from their foreheads at the same time. The other 5 mystic cultivators stood motionlessly on the spot, probably feeling very aggrieved. The funniest thing was that one of the female mystic cultivators was flirtatiously flirting with her hair and winking. Then, she was frozen in place. Situ Yi, who was being winked at, felt all the hair on his body stand on end, and he took 2 steps back. Senior brother Wang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Little junior sister, you can still pick one more. No, Arbor muttered and pulled the 2 young mystic cultivators back to the team. Situ Yi, Duan Yu, and the others clearly heard the little fellow muttering, useless and wasting food. Chapter 183. These mystic cultivators? City Lord Gu walked up to the 5 mystic cultivators in astonishment and sized them up. Only then did everyone understand that the child wasn't fooling around just now. She really immobilized all 5 mystic cultivators on the spot. And the reason she could lead the 2 young mystic cultivators away was because they weren't immobilized by the talismans the child took out. According to the child's thoughts, these immobilized mystic cultivators weren't even as strong as her, so what use were they? Bringing them along would only get in her way and waste her food. Everyone silently turned to glance at the child. They wanted to ask where these talismans came from, but when faced with the child's expressionless stoic face, they didn't dare to ask anything in the end. Little junior sister. First peak second senior sister, Shui Xiao, excitedly grabbed her small hand and lightly squeezed it. Little junior sister, were those immobilization talismans you threw out just now? It wasn't like they hadn't seen immobilization talismans before, but seeing their little junior sister take out a handful from her pocket at once, this was a bit exaggerated. When did Guanlon City's talisman patrician family become so generous and willing to sell so many talismans on the market? There were too many fake talismans these days. Even if they were sold in a talisman shop, they might not be genuine. Thus, seeing their little junior sister take out a handful of talismans at once was truly a bit of an eyesore. Arbor nodded. He took out several talismans from his pocket and stuffed them into his second senior sister's hand. He patted her hand. They can't immobilize level 5 mystic cultivators and above. Body cultivators with cultivations similar to level 5 mystic cultivators probably can't immobilize them either. Because they were heading to Qinghe Town, Arbor had already used up the remaining 100 blank talismans in advance. The talismans he drew were all strength, speed, and support talismans. So interesting. I'll go try. Xue Xiao also had the temperament of a child. She took the immobilization talisman and ran toward the body cultivators. But this time, the body cultivators and superhumans were on guard. When they saw a girl running toward them with an excited expression, they hastily retreated and looked at her with vigilance. Xue Xiao gripped the talisman and curled her lips regretfully. It seemed like she couldn't experiment on these people. Looking at their guarded gazes, how hilarious. It was as if she wanted to skin them alive. Xiao Xiao, stop messing around. Su Shanshan glanced at her second junior sister helplessly. She held the child's hand and walked forward, picking out 11 people from body cultivators and superhumans. What surprised Arbor was that she actually saw Qiao Wanwan and Wei San Lang in the group of superhumans. Third Junior Wei gave her a silly smile, but Qiao Wanwan glared at him as if she wanted to eat him alive. She walked towards Arbor. Su Shanshan frowned and reached out to block Qiao Wanwan. What are you doing? Qiao Wanwan angrily clenched her fists. She had already heard that Arbor had joined the three sects. How could the heavens be so blind? While she, Qiao Wanwan, was struggling bitterly in the slums in the western part of the city, fighting over half a rotten steamed bun until her face and ears turned red, that D*MN girl actually joined the three sects and even became the Holy Water sect's little junior sister. This time, if it wasn't for the abundant rewards provided by the mission, Qiao Wanwan wouldn't have risked her life. Senior Brother Wang, we've chosen. Su Shanshan glared warningly at Qiao Wanwan and pulled her little junior sister back to her team. Daybreak Sect and Heavenly Dao Sect had also chosen. At this time, the 5 mystic cultivators who were immobilized in the center of the plaza could finally move. Chapter 184. The other 4 mystic cultivators were good-natured and did not say anything, but they awkwardly went to the other 2 groups. However, the female mystic cultivator who winked at Arbor angrily jumped up and dashed toward the Holy Water Sect's group. She shouted at Arbor, "Little witch, come out." Senior Brother Wang could not stop the female mystic cultivator and could only follow behind her with a bitter smile. "Who are you calling a little witch?" The 7 celestial maidens exploded and glared at the female mystic cultivator with arched brows. Arbor calmly walked out of the group and stopped in front of the female mystic cultivator. D*MN girl, apologize to me immediately. Otherwise, don't even think about going to Qinghe Town today. The female mystic cultivator blocked the group and acted like a rascal. She was not afraid of making a big deal out of it. She was a mystic cultivator. She had to be revered by others. When had she ever suffered such grievances? She was actually toyed with by a child. The other 4 mystic cultivators were even more embarrassed. They were immobilized by the immobilization talisman because their cultivation was not high enough. This caused the 4 originally arrogant mystic cultivators to put down their haughty attitudes and recognize their shortcomings. They originally did not want to make a big deal out of it and embarrass themselves even more, but this female mystic cultivator was unwilling to let them off. After this commotion, even the normal onlookers in the plaza knew that they mystic cultivators were not that powerful and that a single talisman could take care of them. "All right, don't say any more." One of the mystic cultivators couldn't help but frown. "Little junior sister of the Holy Water sect didn't want to do anything to us. If she really wanted to immobilize us, we would have died countless times already. To put it bluntly, that child just had an eccentric temper, but her methods were quite superb. She only used the shortest amount of time to select the 2 strongest mystic cultivator companions among them and did not actually injure them. If it weren't for the female mystic cultivator causing a ruckus, many of the onlookers would not have known what happened when the child silently left after throwing the talisman. I'm seeking justice for us. You actually dare to curse me without distinguishing right from wrong? The female mystic cultivator was furious. Xiao Mu pattered over to the female mystic cultivator's side with small steps. Duan Yu's eyes kept twitching as he silently counted in his mind. 1, 2, 3. Sleep. Arbor casually threw a talisman over and used his profound energy to shake off the talisman. The female mystic cultivator fell to the ground with a thud, and the entire place was silent. Carry her away. The child nodded at City Lord Gu, whose mouth was twitching. Thank you, City Lord Gu. No, it's my pleasure. Gu Qingfeng felt that his forehead was full of sweat. This kid who threw talismans at the slightest disagreement, was he really not the reincarnation of a devil incarnate? Arbor ran back to the team and looked up at Su Shanshan. Senior sister, we can go now. Su Shanshan raised her hand and patted the child's head lovingly. She turned around and said to everyone, let's go. The 60 men mounted their horses in unison. The child also wanted to mount the horse valiantly, but when he lowered his head and looked at his short stature, he couldn't help but feel helpless. Jojo, let's ride together. Duan Yu, who was in high spirits, blinked his incomparably beautiful peach blossom eyes and chuckled softly. You don't need to trouble yourself. Su Shanshan scowled and placed Xiao Mu on the horse. Then she also mounted the horse and coldly glanced at the youth. Situ Yi nodded at Duan Yu and immediately spurred his horse to follow after them. The group galloped toward Qinghe town. The journey was not too far, and if there were no accidents, they could arrive in half a day with this speed. Chapter 185. Royal City's Eastern Palace, a small study in a side hall. The morning sun shone on the desk in front of the window. Prince Mo stood in the room in his usual blue robes. His black hair was neatly combed under his white jade crown. He flipped through a memorial in his hand for a while before tossing it to the ground. Xiao 11Z silently crawled over and hugged the memorial to the throne. He placed it on the desk along with the other memorials that the prince had tossed away earlier. Idling around all day and not knowing the hardships of the people. Look at this Lu Renhu. He's worrying about this monarch. He's so audacious and ignorant. He repeatedly slandered the great king and wanted to take a consort for this monarch. Mo Lien picked up a brush and drew a large cross on Lu Renhu's memorial. Not approved. Hui Feng stood next to the crown prince like a pillar. His brows didn't move, but the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. There's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The officials who worry so much for this monarch all seconded Lu Renhu's proposal. He, very good. Mo Lien picked up his brush and crossed out several booklets in succession. Afterwards, he tossed the pile of items to the nearby supervisor eunuch who was drenched in cold sweat. What did you say just now? The crown prince turned around with a hint of sternness in his eyes as he looked at the guard standing by the door. The guard inexplicably felt a chill run down his spine. He hastily replied respectfully, the North Battalion heading to Qinghe town to exterminate zombies is currently trapped in the town and awaiting rescue. Perfect. Lu Renhu and the others have nothing to do. Let them follow the army to exterminate zombies in Qinghe town. What? The steward eunuch standing to the side almost dropped the memorial he was holding. Oh, his jaw also almost dropped to the ground. Xiao 11Z picked up the memorial on the ground and jogged to the crown prince's side. He reminded in a low voice, Your Highness, that Lu Renhu is the left assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights. He's a civilian. So what if he's a civilian? Zombies are wreaking havoc everywhere. He's a dignified man. Even women and children are fighting. Why can't he fight? Thus, less than an hour later, the left assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights, Lu Ranhu, and the other 5 officials simultaneously received the Crown Prince's verbal order to supervise the 6 of them to follow the army to Qinghe town to participate in the rescue work. It felt like the sky was about to fall. The Lu family cried and cried as they hugged Lord Lu's leg. Lord Lu wanted to cry more than anyone else. Ever since the great king threw down this decree and left for Mount Hong, Lord Lu felt that his whole person was not good. For some reason, her eyelids had been twitching for the past few days. Sure enough, today's omen was fulfilled. Official Lu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He hugged his wife and child, and the whole family hugged each other and cried. In the end, a few guards from the South Camp felt that Official Lu was being too slow, so they forcefully pulled him away and carried him onto the horse. The guards obeyed the Crown Prince's orders and went to the residences of the officials one by one. No matter how much trouble they caused, they were all tied onto the horses one by one. After escorting the lords out of the capital, someone would return to the Eastern Palace to report. The Crown Prince was silent for a moment before saying, "We remember that Qinghe town isn't far from Shijiao City. We want the current news from Shijiao City." Yes. Hui Feng accepted the order and quickly left. The Crown Prince was somewhat distracted. He sat by the desk and held his brush, not moving for a long time. After a long while he finally asked, "Gong Chang'an. This old servant is here." The steward eunuch answered with cold sweat. He felt that the Crown Prince's voice was extremely cold, as if he was in a very bad mood. How many memorials did the great king leave behind? Chapter 186. Gong Chang silently wiped the sweat off his forehead with his sleeve and said with trepidation, Your Highness, you've been going through memorials for more than a dozen days these past 2 days. There's still about a dozen days left." The Crown Prince's expression instantly darkened, scaring Gong Chang into kneeling on the ground and not daring to utter another word. "The great king's days are truly smooth sailing," the Crown Prince muttered indifferently. Leaving him with a pile of work to deal with, he scrambled off to Mount Hong to enjoy his life. Gong Chang wiped his sweat and murmured, Your Highness, this old servant was about to report something. On the way to the temporary imperial palace on Mount Hong, the great king's party was ambushed by 2 zombies, and noble lady, he fainted on the spot. Why were there only 2? Didn't he have the hidden pavilion send a few more over to add some excitement to the great king? He wasn't reliable at all. If the great king knew what this unfilial son was thinking, he might rush over and strangle him to death. Your Highness, Kiki wants to send more people to Mount Hong to protect the great king? Gong Chang asked cautiously. The great king took away 3,000 royal guards, so the entire royal guard camp is now empty. The south camp is going to reinforce Qinghe town now, so this Crown Prince doesn't have any more men to mobilize. The Crown Prince looked up and coldly glanced at Gong Chang. How about we form a eunuch camp for you and you lead them to rush over to rescue the emperor? Xiao 11Z hastily covered his mouth. No, Your Highness, your joke is too cold. Xiao 11Z couldn't stand it. Gong Chang silently shut his mouth. This old servant doesn't want to lead a bunch of weaklings from the eunuch camp to Mount Hong to their deaths. This old servant will take his leave. Gong Chang exited the Eastern Palace and met Hui Feng's eyes, feeling the urge to cry. Hui Feng couldn't understand the meaning behind Gong Chang's bitter expression, so he quickly entered and said with a serious expression, Your Highness, there's news from the Night Pavilion. Shijiao City issued a mission call and summoned many mystic cultivators and body cultivators to accompany the members of the 3 sects to Qinghe town for training. If the information is accurate, they have already left for that place this morning. Previously, North Camp's 500 people were all trapped in Qinghe town. However, aside from some mystic cultivators, the rest of the people from the 3 sects should be a combination of body cultivators and superhumans. Their combat strength is probably stronger than North Camp's. The Crown Prince's expression was calm as he listened to the news and nodded. Very good. As long as Shijiao City is fine and doesn't affect my little girl, it's fine. As for the rest, they could go wherever they wanted, whether it was the three sects or the city lord's summons. Since the three sects are involved in the matter of Qinghe town. The Crown Prince's handsome brows twitched slightly. He reached into his pocket and took out the communication jade talisman. He touched the jade talisman with his finger and saw lines of small words appear on it. Your Highness, this subordinate is currently secretly following the little miss to Qinghe town. The young miss had participated in the three sects training. There were a total of 60 people in the group, and they had now arrived at the entrance of the small town. I'm about to go in with Miss, so I don't have time to send another message. The Crown Prince abruptly stood up from the table. His gentle expression no longer existed. Instead, it was replaced by a grave and cold expression. He felt a little flustered, as if something bad was about to happen. Has little Seventh returned? Your Highness, Seventh Yen will most likely not return for another 2 days. Prepare the horse. The Crown Prince strode out the door. Huifeng hastily followed and dissuaded him. Your Highness, even if you ride at full speed and take a shortcut, it'll still take 4 to 5 days. It's better to have Seventh Yen hurry back. The Crown Prince's footsteps paused. Right. Hurry and send a message to little Seventh. Chapter 187. At 10 minutes past noon, Shijiu City's city lord received news that soldiers were escorting 3 carriages full of supplies into the city. The overjoyed city lord Gu hurriedly went out to welcome them and led a young guard captain back to the city lord's estate. He served them tea and entertained them for a meal. Only in the end did he realize that they weren't delivering supplies to Shijiu City. The city lord was embarrassed when he realized that he had misexpressed his feelings the entire way. Hidden Flower, who was disguised as He Tian's lackey, saw everything and inwardly laughed until his stomach hurt. If it weren't for the 3 tails following them relentlessly, Hidden Flower really wanted to take a look at the little girl that His Highness the Crown Prince was so worried about. As for now, he would just let those 3 flies fly around outside for a while. I heard that City Lord Gu sent people to Qinghe town? He Tian asked under Hidden Flower's gaze. City Lord Gu was still immersed in the faint sorrow of the imperial court not distributing supplies to Shijiu City. The imperial court's generous gift was for a little girl. While City Lord Gu was in a bad mood, a little stoic face inexplicably popped up in his mind. It couldn't be, right? City Lord Gu couldn't connect Miss Chow and the imperial court together. Unexpectedly, City Lord Gu soon discovered that his guess was correct. They really did come for that little stoic girl. Could City Lord Gu help us invite the little girl to the City Lord's estate? Don't make a big fuss and just invite her secretly, He Tian said with a stern and squarish face. Sir Hidden Flower's intention was to let the little girl decide how to deal with those 3 tails after she arrived. If the little girl was too lazy to do anything, then it was completely fine for Sir to eliminate those 3 flies. Gu Qingfeng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Miss Chow followed the 3 sects to Qinghe town early this morning. I'm afraid she won't be able to come over to receive supplies in the near future. He Tian's face instantly darkened. City Lord, you're going overboard. How could you let an underage little girl go to such a dangerous place? Gu Qingfeng's mouth was full of bitterness, but he could only smile apologetically. The little girl set off with her sect. With the senior sisters of the Holy Water sect looking after her, there shouldn't be any problems. Since it was the sect's decision, He Tian had nothing to say. If that's the case, then we'll have to leave these supplies in the City Lord's manor for a few more days, Hidden Flower said with a smile, but his sparse eyebrows were slightly furrowed. City Lord Gu was crying in his heart, but he couldn't show it on his face. He nodded happily and ordered the servants to prepare a room for He Tian and the others to rest. When he sent the 2 off, City Lord Gu couldn't help but cough and ask timidly, "May I know when the imperial court will distribute supplies to Shijiu City?" He Tian immediately put on an official face and said solemnly, "Recently, zombies have been everywhere. In many towns and cities, the control is very chaotic, and there are starving people everywhere. The resources distributed by the imperial court still need to satisfy the needs of those especially poor places. In comparison, Shijiu City was very stable and prosperous." His Highness had also praised City Lord Gu for his good governance and benevolence. The Crown Prince and even the Great King are very pleased, and there is no need for the Imperial Court to send another Zhizhou to inspect. Gu Qingfeng was bursting with joy, and he was grinning from ear to ear. Your Highness is too kind. He was immediately swayed by He Tion's few words. He didn't even remember to ask for supplies and eagerly sent them to rest. Chapter 188. Aba's group arrived at Qinghe Town at noon. Everyone dismounted but did not rush inside. Instead, they gathered at the entrance and planned to eat some rations and rest before entering the town. The leaders of the three sects were Su Shanshan, Situ Yi, and Shang Kuan. Duan Yu insisted on staying in Qiao Mu's team no matter what. Even the 7 celestial maidens' cold gazes could not erase his determination to stay. Aba did not mind. This youth's cultivation was definitely higher than hers, and he felt a bit mysterious. He looked like a weakling, but he was not. The little fellow looked up at the sky. Although it was noon, the sky above Qinghe Town was overcast as though it was concealing an aura of death. Everyone silently took out their rations to eat. When Qiao Mu saw that most of the mystic cultivators acted in unison and took out food from their inner worlds with a swipe of the air, she could only swallow her pride. A certain poor child could only resign himself to his fate and take out a piece of pastry from the bag at his waist. She had just taken a bite when she heard a loud exclamation. "Aren't you a mystic cultivator?" Lu Yexin seemed to have caught Qiao Mu's weakness and pointed at her with a malicious smile. "Oh, I know. You're a mystic cultivator without an inner world. Ha ha ha, no inner world. No mystic conscious. Idiot. Trash mystic cultivator. Ha 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 ha." Lu Yexin did not notice that Arbor, whom she rebuked, was expressionless and emotionless when she said this. The other 4 to 5 mystic cultivators in the 3 teams all glared at Lu Yexin with fury on their faces. Situ Yi and senior brother Wang were sitting not far from Lu Yexin, and they all glared at this brainless junior sister with a frown. While she was mocking others, did she forget that there were 2 mystic cultivators in their Heavenly Tao sect team who had not opened their inner worlds? One of them, senior brother Zhao, was already over 30 years old, and being unable to open his inner world was the pain of his life. Lu Yexin originally wanted to annoy Arbor, but she didn't expect to offend more than half of the mystic cultivators present with her words. Duan Yu looked up and looked at the child beside him with interest. Qiao Mu was not to be trifled with, so she would definitely rebuke her. However, ha 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 ha. Qiao Mu responded to Lu Yexin's ha 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 ha, and let out a series of chuckles. On her palm-sized face, her eyebrows, eyes, and nose didn't move at all. If it wasn't for the sound coming from her mouth, no one would think that she was smiling. He looked like a little doll carved out of jade. After the child finished laughing, she lowered her head and continued to eat the pastries. She didn't have the slightest intention to talk to anyone. Everyone was speechless. Duan Yu burst out in laughter. Sure enough, following a child was too interesting. Situ Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the child. Little junior sister is still young. It's normal that she doesn't have an inner world. Junior martial sister Lu, I remember that you also just formed your mystic sense a month ago and successfully opened your inner world. You're 5 years older than junior sister. Hearing Situ Yi's words, Lu Yexin was so angry that she almost cried. However, no one was in the mood to comfort this willful junior sister Lu. Humph. Su Shanshan and the others snorted. Seeing that Lu Yexin had been rebuked by Situ Yi, they let her off. Senior brother Wang took out a map and said to everyone, "Everyone, please come over and take a look." The entire Qinghe town can be roughly divided into 3 areas. We don't know the exact location of the granary, so we need to split into 3 groups to explore it. Chapter 189. The residential area is concentrated on the east side of town, and there's also a school there. The west side is mostly concentrated with shops, while the north side seems to be a large farm that's connected to a field and a small stream. That's the situation. Everyone, decide how to distribute the search areas, Senior Brother Wang said. Su Shanshan nodded. Senior Brother Wang, how about you distribute the search areas? We don't have any objections. Senior Brother Shang, what do you think? Senior Brother Wang good-naturedly looked at Shang Kuan from the Daybreak sect. Shang Kuan shook his head aloofly. We'll follow Senior Brother Wang's arrangements. Senior Brother Wang nodded with a smile. Since no one has any objections, I'll distribute the search areas. Since no one has any objections, I'll distribute the search teams in these 3 areas. Senior Sisters from the Holy Water sect will search the residential area and school in the east. The Daybreak sect will search the shops in the west. As for our Heavenly Tao sect, we'll search the farm in the north. Su Shanshan and Shang Kuan didn't have any objections. The north side was relatively large, so Senior Brother Wang's distribution was already considerate of them. We still don't know where that granary is. It could be divided into several warehouses, or it could even be empty. Therefore, it's best to be careful. Searching for supplies is secondary. The main thing is that so many of us came in, so I hope to see everyone leave safely. Senior Brother is right. Situ Yi nodded and glanced warningly at Lu Yexin. Junior Sister Lu, now isn't the time to mess around. I hope you can rein in your temper and obediently follow the team. Lu Yexin was gloomy, but she couldn't throw a tantrum, so she could only nod sullenly. 6 hours later, before nightfall, gather at the center of town regardless of whether you find the granary or not. Here. Senior Brother Wang pointed heavily at a certain spot on the map. Gather at the central bridge. Okay. Everyone nodded in unison. Su Shanshan held the child's small hand and stood to the side. Pitch-black waves seemed to surge in the depths of her eyes. There was a suffocating sense of discomfort in this place. All right, let's set off. Senior Brother Wang and Situ Yi walked to the very front and led the group of 60 people into Qinghe town. Sanlang, don't you feel that this place gives people goosebumps? Qiao Wanwan followed closely behind 3rd Junior Wei. She was starting to regret it. Wife, don't be afraid. I'm here. 3rd Junior Wei felt a little guilty, but it wasn't as obvious as Qiao Wanjuan's. Fear was written all over Qiao Wanjuan's face. She cautiously looked back and forth at the empty town. She shouldn't have been greedy for that dozen catties of rice and come to such a gloomy place. Qiao Wanwan followed closely behind 3rd Junior Wei, her heart on edge. She followed the group into the small town. When they arrived at the entrance, the group stopped. Let's disperse here. Remember to gather at the central bridge before dark. Don't get caught up in the fight. Senior Brother Wang didn't finish his words. A piece of bloody flesh fell from the memorial arch above his head. Blood splashed onto the heads and faces of several people. Everyone's heart tightened. Only Qiao Wanwan opened her mouth and howled uncontrollably. But halfway through his howl, he was punched hard in the mouth. The force of the punch threw her to the ground with a bang. Everyone's vision blurred. A nimble and slender figure charged over like an angry lion cub and landed punch after punch on Qiao Wanjuan's mouth. Everyone's hearts couldn't help but tremble as they looked at the bloody teeth that had fallen to the ground. This little fellow was truly ruthless. Chapter 190. 3rd Junior Wei was dazed from fright. When he finally regained his senses, he hastily rushed forward to stop the fight and said with a sullen face, "Jojo, stop fighting, stop fighting. You're almost beating your little aunt to death. Do you want to kill everyone?" Aba's eyes were so dark that not a trace of light could be seen. Aba flung Qiao Wanwan away and said coldly, "Scram back to Shijiu City. You don't need to go in. The team doesn't need trash like you who only knows how to scream when you encounter a little trouble to drag us down." Qiao Wanjuan's mouth was full of blood, and she spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with broken teeth. When she looked up, she glared at Aba with a venomous gaze and let out a hoarse roar. She pounced forward, wanting to push Aba to the ground. She wanted to strangle this child who embarrassed her in front of everyone. Unfortunately, before she could get close, Arbor raised his leg and kicked her away. She rolled on the ground and roared as she pounded the ground to vent her anger. "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Arbor stared coldly at the woman on the ground. At this moment, the child exuded a ruthless aura, and a faint white mist of mystic energy surrounded her raised hand. She would lose her life with just one blow. A normal person's life was so fragile. Even a superpowered person would be powerless in front of a mystic cultivator. Third Junior Wei was so scared that he shrank to the side. How would he dare to go forward and say a word? Even Lu Yexin, who had been jumping up and down, did not dare to speak. She only kept sneaking glances at Arbor with a strange mood. She felt that she had always been bullied by the child. Today, she suddenly saw her bullying someone else, and so viciously at that. It felt a little strange. In comparison, it seemed that she was not so strict with herself before. At least, her teeth were still in her mouth. Lu Yexin subconsciously raised her hand to touch her mouth. "Little junior sister." Su Shanshan slowly walked to her side and gently held her hand. She bent down and picked up the child. "Let's go." Qiao Mu's accumulated cold energy slowly relaxed. She looked up at Su Shanshan and silently nodded with pursed lips. Killing an unimportant woman would be as easy as blowing off dust, but why should her junior martial sister bear the bad reputation of killing a relative? "Leave immediately. Don't stay." Su Shanshan shouted at Qiao Wanwan with a cold face. She then turned to her team and said, "Everyone, listen to my orders. Don't make any noise. If you attract a large number of zombies to the team, you will bear the consequences. That's right. Calm down when something happens. Don't panic." Senior Brother Wang nodded in agreement. Even the people from Daybreak Sect who had always found Arbor an eyesore didn't say anything this time because they knew very well that if it weren't for Arbor stopping Qiao Wanjuan's shouting in time, perhaps many zombies would have been attracted by now. They didn't want to be surrounded by zombies while they were still at the town's entrance. Shang Kuan said solemnly, "Everyone, be careful. We're heading west." After saying that, his sharp gaze swept over the timid Third Junior Wei. "She's your wife? Take her back to Shijiao City. Our team doesn't welcome you." Third Junior Wei opened his mouth, wanting to defend himself, but Shang Kuan had no intention of listening to him. He directly led the team to the west side of town. Qiao Wanwan was anxious, angry, and embarrassed. She kicked and slapped the ground, wanting to make a fuss again, but Third Junior Wei pounced over and covered her mouth. "Wife, be quiet." Chapter 191. Qiao Wanwan wanted to eat Third Junior Wei alive. When she was flung to the ground by Qiao Mu just now, she clearly saw that this cowardly man did not know how to stand up for her at all. Even when he saw that Qiao Mu was beating him viciously, he kept retreating backwards, deeply afraid of being implicated by her. "You!" Third Junior Wei hurriedly covered Qiao Wanjuan's noisy mouth and dragged her out of the town. "Wife, keep your voice down. We shouldn't be fooling around right now. The whole group has left, and only the two of us are left. If something happens, we won't have anyone to reason with." "Reason my ass." Qiao Wanjuan's mouth was covered by Third Junior Wei again. Her mouth was filled with the taste of blood. "Wife, you're too impulsive. That's not good. Look at you, if you didn't make a fuss just now, they wouldn't have kicked us out of the group." Third Junior Wei dragged Qiao Wanwan all the way to the town entrance. He was a strength-type superhuman, so Qiao Wanwan couldn't resist at all when he held her down. When the two of them reached the town entrance, Qiao Wanwan suddenly cried out and tried to pry the man's arm away. She stared in front of her with a frightened expression. A person with long hair that they couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman was sitting on a stone block at the town entrance with his back facing them. Two hands were slowly crawling on his head of messy hair. No matter how one looked at it, there was a sense of creepiness. Fortunately, it was still daytime. If it was nighttime, they would be scared sick by this person even if they weren't sick. The two of them gathered their courage and walked to the side, trying their best to avoid coming into contact with the person on the stone block. However, the person suddenly turned his head. A pair of eyes protruded from the deep eye sockets of his face. They were shockingly huge. The guy opened his mouth at the two of them, revealing two very sharp fangs. Without saying anything, he climbed down from the stone block and suddenly pounced at the two of them. Chow Wan was so scared that she fell on her butt. Third Junior Wei couldn't care less about Chow Wan at this time. He quickly ran out of the town. The zombie pounced and clawed at Chow Wan. The wound on her left arm was so deep that the bone could be seen. Chow Wan's eyes shrank in pain. Third young Master Wei, you damned donkey! Chow Wan cursed in shock and fear. Seeing that the terrifying zombie was about to pounce on her face again, Chow Wan took a deep breath and suddenly burst forth with speed. With a whoosh, she swept past the zombie and rushed out of the town. Roar! When the zombie saw that the meat in its mouth had flown away, it hurriedly chased out of the town in a crooked manner and chased in the direction of the couple. Roar! Roar! Although Third Junior Wei's strength was different from a mortal's, his speed was no match for Chow Wan's. It didn't take long for Chow Wan to overtake him. Third Junior Wei looked back and saw the corpse puppet howling madly as it chased after him. He cursed anxiously and angrily, Wan, why did you lure it out? You useless man who deserves 1,000 cuts. Chow Wan roared angrily. Her speed exploded to the extreme as she rushed forward. She roared angrily, go to hell. Third Junior Wei's expression was extremely ugly. He still wanted to say something, but he suddenly realized that there was a gust of wind behind him. When he turned around, the zombie had clawed at his face. How could this be? Third Junior Wei's eyes widened in horror. The zombie's speed had always been very slow. Although he couldn't run as fast as Chow Wan, he was at least much faster than a mortal. But now, what kind of zombie was this? How could its speed be so shocking? Third Junior Wei couldn't think about it in detail. He punched the zombie's body and clearly heard a crack from the zombie's body. Third Junior Wei was delighted, but in the next second, his throat was bitten by a pair of terrifying fangs. Ah! Chapter 192. After the three teams split up at the Memorial Arch, they each went to their own area to search. They did not know that Chow Wan and her husband met with misfortune. Of course, even if they knew, they would not pay too much attention. Su Shanshan walked to the front of the team while holding the child's hand. Xue Xiao followed closely behind her with a step's distance. Her playful smile disappeared, replaced by a grave expression. Gurgle! A young body cultivator in the team kicked something and stopped with a frown. Everyone gripped their weapons tightly and looked down, only to see a sinister head lying quietly at their feet. Everyone's breathing tightened, but their expressions were still relatively calm. Su Shanshan looked up at the undulating rows of residences. There are probably more than 100 residences here. We'll split into 3 teams to search. Xiao Xiao, you lead one team. Junior sister Yu Guei, you lead the other team. We'll split into 3 teams so we can search faster this way. If anything happens, remember to use the sex communication talisman to contact us immediately. Yes. Yu Guei and Xue Xiao each picked 6 people and left quickly. Besides her and her little junior sister, there were 6 other people with Su Shanshan. There was Duan Yu, who they could not shake off, junior sister Li Ling from the 3rd peak, a young mystic cultivator named Yang Shu, a middle-aged body cultivator named Ajin, and 2 superhumans, a pair of young siblings. The older brother, Xiong Yan, was 17 years old and a strength-type superhuman. The younger sister, Xiong Li, was 15 years old and a speed-type superhuman. After introductions, everyone learned that Xiong Li not only ran fast but also had developed hearing. Before Su Shanshan entered the residences to search, she had Xiong Li listen to the surroundings. After finding no problems, she quickly led everyone into the residences to search for supplies. The 8 people searched 5 to 6 residences but did not find anything. They could not help but look at each other with wry smiles. Continue searching, Su Shanshan ordered, and the 8 people walked out of the house and ran to the next one. The houses here weren't badly damaged, but along the way, they didn't even see a single corpse puppet. This worried Arbor deeply. A shadow floated in his heart and seemed to be spreading. After exiting the residences, Arbor looked up at the sky. It was even darker than before. Duan Yu poked the child's back. "Jojo, did you discover something? It's too quiet here." The child's words made everyone's hearts tighten. Xiongli even consciously stopped in her tracks, once again holding her breath and listening attentively. "However, I really didn't hear anything. The footsteps of a corpse puppet are very different from ours. As long as one appears near us, I will definitely hear it," Xiongli explained anxiously. Su Shanshan nodded. "Everyone, be careful. Let's continue searching." Next room. Everyone couldn't help but quicken their pace. However, although the rooms were intact and undamaged, there was no food at all. Could there be a mistake in the information? The people of Qinghe town have already fled with their food? The young mystic cultivator, Yong Shu, asked with a frown. "No, they didn't escape," the middle-aged body cultivator said with a pained expression. "How did you know?" "My in-laws live in Qinghe town. After my wife brought the 2 children back to her parents' home, she hasn't returned since." The middle-aged body cultivator closed his eyes. He had been waiting for his relatives in Shijiu City, but they never came. "Then, are you familiar with the town?" Chapter 193. The middle-aged body cultivator revealed a bitter smile. "I went out to gain experience for several years and didn't return home often, much less have the time to visit my in-laws." Now that he thought about it, he was filled with regret. While he pursued strength everywhere and was busy making friends with all kinds of people, his wife took care of their elderly parents with their 2 children and never once complained to him. But now, it was so difficult for him to even see his wife and children again. The young mystic cultivator, Yong Shu, patted body cultivator Jin's shoulder. He wanted to say a few words of consolation but was unable to say anything after a moment of hesitation. Everyone present was well aware of this. Jin's wife and children were most likely doomed. Su Shanshan took a deep breath and said, "Let's finish searching this area. If we still don't find anything, I think we shouldn't enter these residences one by one. Let's circle to the back and see if there are granaries." "Okay." They all nodded without any objections. Arbor gathered his sleeves and followed behind them. He slowly turned his head and glanced behind him. There seemed to be some kind of unease hidden under the peaceful residence district. The 8 of them entered a relatively large residence. This size was one of the best in the entire Qinghe town. Mystic cultivator Yong Shu was the first to kick open the 2 large doors. Everyone cautiously entered with weapons in hand. The courtyard was bleak and empty without a single person in sight. Other than Arbor standing alone in the courtyard, the other 7 did the same as before. They walked along the long corridor leading to the back rooms to search for supplies. Arbor circled the courtyard by himself and picked up any tools he saw that he could use. After returning to his original spot, Arbor took out a storage talisman from his sleeve and flicked it open, instantly storing everything inside. Su Shanshan, Duan Yu, and Yong Shu just happened to return to the courtyard. They immediately saw the child standing in the middle of the courtyard, gently gathering her sleeves and slightly raising her head. A talisman emitting a blue light was floating in front of her. Her small, fair hands poked out of her sleeves and swiped at the air. All the miscellaneous items on the ground disappeared in the blink of an eye. Everyone's hearts jolted, and Duan Yu even sprinted to the child's side. He grabbed the child's hand and exclaimed, "Storage talisman!" The child calmly withdrew his hand and looked at the young man expressionlessly. "Young man, what are you so excited about?" "Wow, this kind of storage talisman is hard to buy even on the black market." Compared to her older brother's solemnness, Xiong Li, this younger sister, was pretty and vivacious. She was not shy with strangers at all, and she ran up to Qiao Mu and held her small hand with a chuckle. "Little sister, you really have hidden your abilities well." Su Shanshan nodded her head in agreement. Earlier, when they were outside the town, the child had taken out the bag from her waist and taken out some food. She had even been mocked by that ignorant Lu Yexin. But could Lu Yexin have a storage talisman? Perhaps even her father, who was the vice hall master of Tiandao sect, wouldn't be able to get a precious storage talisman from the black market. No wonder Master said to her aloofly before they left, "Your little junior sister doesn't need you people to worry about her. Compared to your little junior sister, Master is more worried about you all. Xiao Xiao's temper is especially irritable, so you have to watch her more. As for your little junior sister, you'll know in the future." Recalling her master's meaningful smile, Su Shanshan took a deep breath. Chapter 194. It's possible to buy immobilization talismans on the black market. But I've never seen a storage talisman before. Duan Yu's eyes were so bright they were about to burn. He tossed the child's disdain to the back of his mind. Duan Yu relentlessly grabbed the child's hand and chuckled as he questioned, "Little fellow, where did you buy these talismans?" Could it be that some underground black market opened an auction and didn't inform him? The child decisively slapped away Duan Yu's hand and silently put away the blue talisman before running towards Su Shanshan. "Duan Yu, my heart hurts. I have such a handsome face that angers the heavens, but why am I so unpopular with this child? Eldest senior sister, let's go." Arba suddenly paused and pulled Su Shanshan over, a cold glint flashing through his narrowed eyes. The blue talisman jumped out again, and a pitch-black repeating crossbow instantly appeared in her hand. Whoosh! 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 3 iron arrows shot out like shooting stars. Hoarse screeches came from the sky, and 3 black lumps fell down. They were accompanied by pieces of rotten flesh that softly clattered to the ground. The 7 people instantly gathered around Arbor and looked up in shock. The originally pitch-black sky was now tainted by a large flock of pitch-black crows, turning it completely black. They were like a black iron plate hanging in the sky as they rapidly moved toward the residential area on the east side. Arbor's heart skipped a beat, and he clenched his fists tightly. 3rd-level mutated zombie crows. Why did these things appear in Qinghe Town? The mutation speed was so fast in this life. Mutated zombie crows appeared in less than half a month. What more terrifying things would happen in the future? Or could it be that these mutated zombie crows also appeared in her previous life, so almost all the people from the 3 sects were trapped in Qinghe Town and never returned? In reality, there was no time for her to think about it. Although these mutated zombie crows were not difficult to deal with, there were too many of them. Once they surrounded them, they would probably be wiped out. Moreover, she finally figured it out. Why was this place so quiet? It was likely that the corpses had been eaten by the crows before they mutated, which accelerated the mutation of the corpse crows. It made the entire Qinghe town look empty without a single zombie to be found. Junior Sister Li Ling quickly released the sex message talisman and asked everyone to gather at the town's memorial archway, Su Shanshan said calmly. Li Ling immediately took out the sex message talisman from his inner world and hastily wrote 2 lines of words. Then, he threw it into the sky with a whoosh and watched as it turned into specks of stars and dissipated. "It's too late, Grand Senior Sister." Arbor's black eyes narrowed. He quickly took out 7 or 8 talismans from his sleeves and threw them at everyone. "Run!" Arbor took the lead and ran towards the back of the residential area. At this moment, Su Shanshan also realized that it was unrealistic for everyone to run back to the entrance of the town. The sky in front of them was completely blocked by the mutated cadaveric crows. They flapped their wings that were full of rotten flesh, and as they flapped, smelly lumps of flesh fell from above. The place where Arbor escaped to was an opening. Su Shanshan shouted, "Come over here. Follow little junior sister." Xiong Li displayed her innate speed and grabbed her brother Xiong Yen, who was running at the very back. With a few jumps, she followed behind Arbor. Soon, the sound of flapping wings came from behind them. The mutated cadaveric crows had caught up. A 3-story residence appeared in front of them. The Qing Feng Academy plaque at the entrance was already broken and lying on the ground. Chapter 195. Everyone rushed into the classroom in twos and threes. Because of the speed talisman, everyone was able to display extraordinary speed. Eldest senior sister. Eldest senior sister. Little junior sister. Several pleasantly surprised shouts came from the side entrance. Su Shanshan looked up and saw that Shui Zhao's and Yu Gui's teams had arrived. She was overjoyed and quickly waved at them. Quick, let's go in first. The three teams converged, and everyone dashed into the academy. They quickly turned around and closed the wooden doors and windows in time. Immediately, they heard a series of flapping sounds as a dozen or so mutated cadaveric crows swooped down from the sky and slammed into the doors and windows. Everyone's hearts clenched tightly as they followed the swaying of the doors and windows. Quick! Move those stools and tables over here. At Su Shanshan's command, many people immediately rushed over and dragged over all the tables and chairs in the academy. They stacked them one by one in front of the doors and windows. Through the crack in the window lattice, Alba coldly looked at the dense flock of cadaveric crows in the sky and frowned. These senseless things were actually so well-mannered that they didn't immediately rush down to attack them? Other than the dozen that attacked earlier, the rest of the flock of cadaveric crows that blotted out the sky only circled the academy and did not move closer. This caused Alba to feel very uneasy. She couldn't help but feel that she had overlooked something very important. Alba and Duan Yu, who was standing next to her, looked at each other and saw a trace of seriousness in each other's eyes. Thud, 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 thud. In the quiet Clear Breeze Academy where only breathing could be heard, a soft sound suddenly came from the stairs leading to the second floor. It sounded like someone was walking down from the second floor. Everyone's nerves tensed up in an instant. Their faces darkened as they looked in the direction of the staircase. Even the sound of their breathing was held in unison. Thump, 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 thump. A bouncing bamboo ball fell down from the stairs, causing everyone's tense nerves to loosen slightly in an instant. They only felt that their hearts were about to jump out of their throats, but all of a sudden, they only saw an insignificant bamboo ball. Be careful! Xiao Mu suddenly raised her crossbow and struck a zombie that was about to pounce onto her teammate, causing it to fall to the ground. Everyone looked up and sucked in a breath of cold air. There were several large holes in the wooden floor of the second floor of the academy. 4 or 5 corpse puppets were jumping down from the holes. Some were hanging upside down from the ceiling, their protruding eyes full of hostility. One after another, people swallowed their saliva. They were so shocked that their breathing almost stopped. However, none of them were pushovers. At first, they just didn't react as fast as Arbor, but after they reacted, they didn't even need the captain's instructions. They consciously formed groups of 2 or 3 and rushed towards the zombies that were pouncing on them. They quickly took care of those things, including the ones that were hanging upside down from the ceiling. Little sister, thank you for your reminder. The young mystic cultivator who had almost been pounced on by the zombie cast a grateful glance at Arbor. At that moment, everyone's attention was attracted by the bamboo ball that fell down the stairs. Only the child saw the danger above his head. It had to be said that his level of meticulousness was comparable to a mystic cultivator with decades of experience. Arbor pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She only nodded at the young mystic cultivator. Chapter 196. Su Shanshan looked up at the dilapidated ceiling above her head. Should we go up? Let's go up and take a look. They nodded hesitantly. When everyone walked up the stairs, only the middle-aged body cultivator, Ajin, stood there and stared motionlessly at the bamboo ball on the ground. This was the bamboo ball he personally made for the 2 children before he left home last time. Children. Ajin looked up at the broken ceiling with excitement in his eyes. Ajin, what are you doing? Su Shanshan turned around and looked at the middle-aged body cultivator with a frown. He still had time to daydream at a time like this? Did he have a death wish? Ajin returned to his senses and suddenly bent down to pick up the bamboo ball. He took the lead and dashed upstairs with loud footsteps. Ajin. The young mystic cultivator, Yong Shu, looked at the middle-aged body cultivator in astonishment. This Ajin didn't speak much the entire way up, but he was very cooperative with the team. He had never lost his composure like this and ran off alone without a word. "Go up," Arbor ordered coldly. "What happened to him?" Xue Xiao turned to Su Shanshan and spoke quickly. "Eldest senior sister, we wanted to rush to the town entrance after receiving your message, but it was too late." "It's the same for us, and we sacrificed a teammate on the way here," senior sister Yu Gui said grimly. "Senior sister Yu Gui, this has nothing to do with you. It was that superhuman who disregarded your orders and ran away recklessly that killed him. Also, he almost implicated us." Yu Gui sighed. "The more critical the situation, the more you have to remain calm. That body cultivator brother didn't listen to senior sister Su and ran up alone. I'm afraid." Su Shanshan also frowned, her expression unsightly. "Let's go up. Pay attention to your feet and be careful. Don't push and shove in a panic." Then, Su Shanshan solemnly handed her little junior sister to Duan Yu and turned to Xue Xiao. "Junior sister, let's lead the way." "Yes." Xue Xiao nodded and walked up to stand next to Su Shanshan. The two of them led the team upstairs. The wooden floor was severely damaged, and from time to time, a slight cracking sound could be heard. Creak, creak. The sounds under their feet made everyone tense and inexplicably depressed. Suddenly, an old face appeared at the top of the stairs. Su Shanshan's reaction was extremely fast as a streak of profound energy rushed over. The profound energy landed on the handrail of the staircase, splitting a large piece of the wooden handrail in half, and it fell down the stairs with a crash. Su Shanshan and Xue Xiao were the first to quickly ascend the stairs. Xiong Yan and his sister followed closely behind them, while Duan Yu walked in the middle of the crowd with the child in tow. After the group of people had all gone upstairs, they very vigilantly spread out to both sides, paying attention to the dark environment around them. The floor was very dark, and there should be a lobby in the middle. The wooden doors of the 2 rows of rooms on both sides were tightly shut. The middle-aged body cultivator, Jin Zhengheng, stood in front of Su Shanshan and Xue Xiao and said anxiously, Don't do anything, everyone. They're all residents of Qinghe Town. Don't hurt them." Everyone took a closer look and realized that there were 7 or 8 people hiding behind the middle-aged body cultivator. There were men and women of all ages, and one of them was the old face that had appeared at the staircase earlier. Everyone got into their attacking stances. Their faces were tense, and there was no smile on their faces. "They are zombies." "No, they aren't zombies, they aren't." Jin Zhengheng's hands tightly hugged 2 9- and 10-year-old children as he looked earnestly at Su Shanshan. Chapter 197. In the darkness, the 2 sides confronted each other. The second floor was completely silent. Su Shanshan frowned as she looked at the children in Ajin's arms. Her gaze then shifted to the 7 or 8 townspeople behind Ajin. These people did not look like zombies. Other than their extremely thin bodies, dry lips, and thick dark circles under their eyes, there seemed to be nothing special about them. Ajin nervously hugged the 2 children and vigilantly scanned Su Shanshan and the others. "How long have you been here?" The girl's cold voice emerged from the crowd. Her teammates subconsciously moved to the side, revealing the girl's small figure that was half a person's height. When such a small figure stood in the crowd and coldly questioned them, the air was so oppressive that it was almost suffocating. Ajin was so nervous that he didn't dare to meet her eyes. Qinghe Town and our village had a zombie outbreak on the same day. If my guess is correct, these people probably ran into Qingfeng Academy to hide for more than 10 days. The soft childish voice carried an eerie chill. "You are all normal people. I really want to know how they managed to survive these 10 days with no food and water." Following her words, Su Shanshan and the others tensed up again. They gripped their weapons and assumed a battle stance. Little Mississippi, the elderly man who had shown his face at the staircase earlier, walked shakily to Ajin's side and said with a sincere expression, "I am the mayor of Qinghe Town. I beg you experts, please don't harm our townspeople. Everyone is already very pitiful. The old man trembled as he walked towards Su Shanshan and wanted to salute her respectfully. Xiao Mu suddenly released an iron arrow, which abruptly struck the old man's left arm. The old man fell to the ground with a loud thud. His torn sleeve revealed an arm with twisted veins. His fingers were slightly bent, and his fingernails were abnormally sharp. He mutated, Arbor said coldly. The iron arrow had clearly pierced through the old man's arm, but no human blood flowed out. Everyone gasped at the same time. The mystic cultivator's weapons were covered in a layer of mystic energy, the body cultivators clenched their fists, and the superhumans were all ready to attack. Arbor finally understood why he felt uneasy. Since the level 3 corpse crow had appeared, it meant that there was a level 3 corpse puppet here. The large flock of cadaveric crows was intimidated by the level 3 mutated corpse puppet, so they only hovered in the sky and did not descend. Once they were summoned, the consequences would be unimaginable. Level 1 and 2 zombie puppets would only stupidly strangle their opponents until they stopped breathing and became a dead man. Moreover, it would take a certain amount of time for a dead person to slowly mutate into a rank 1 zombie. Level 3 corpse puppets were completely different. Compared to the previous 2, level 3 corpse puppets were not only faster, but their strength was also greatly increased. A level 3 mystic cultivator could effortlessly dispose of 3 to 5 level 1 and level 2 zombies, but when faced with the simultaneous attacks of 3 to 5 level 3 zombies, they could only be suppressed and beaten. The scariest thing was that these monsters that had evolved into level 3 corpse puppets had become fond of eating human flesh. Once scratched by a level 3 corpse puppet, the victim would also mutate into a corpse puppet after the incubation period of 15 days. They would completely lose their human thoughts and enter a state of brain death. Arbor only took one look at the old man's arm and knew that the old man had entered the late stage of the incubation period. It had been at least 7 days since his arm was scratched by a level 3 corpse puppet. Kill them! The old man curled up his body and suddenly exploded with an ear-piercing roar. Chapter 198. Along with this roar, his body shook with force. A tightly shut wooden door suddenly burst open, and a corpse puppet with one blind eye and half of its face covered in white fur rushed out. It had an extremely ferocious appearance. The thick stench of blood rushed into everyone's nostrils. Boom! Su Shanshan promptly threw out a burst of mystic energy, forcing the zombie to retreat several steps. At the same time, the Holy Water Sect's senior and junior sisters revealed their blades and covered themselves in mystic energy, working together to encircle and annihilate this zombie. In a flash of cold light, the mystic cultivators had already surrounded this level 3 zombie. Level 3 zombie, concentrate your mystic energy and hit its head. Arbor shouted as he coldly stared at this zombie. This zombie was an ordinary level 3 zombie. According to her calculations, there should be a level 3 mutated zombie here. Could it be that it was still hiding in the dark? Hence, Arbor did not join the battle. Instead, his icy gaze searched the surroundings. Duan Yu. I'm here. Duan Yu grabbed the child's hand. Make this place brighter. No problem. The youth finally had a use for his skills. He happily took out a small bead from his pocket and lightly flicked it with his finger. Swoosh! That object flew into the air, illuminating the entire second floor. He thought he would receive the child's praise, so he turned to look at her with a beaming face. Unexpectedly, he received an irritated eye roll. Duan Yu, are you the beads of an abacus? He plucked and moved. As teammates, shouldn't they have taken out illumination pearls to illuminate this place? Duan Yu was speechless. No, this illumination pearl is very high class, okay? The area it illuminated could support the entire floor, and it was very convenient to carry around. It was 1/5 smaller than a normal luminous pearl, but it was much brighter. Only the concealed weapons patrician family, the Duan clan, had this kind of illumination pearl. 2 years ago, when he left the Duan clan in a rage, he plundered many good things, including the map of the Hulun Mountains Peach Garden Mystic Realm. However, in the end, that mystic realm benefited this little girl instead. Just thinking about it made him angry. Do you still have the core ravaging thunder you used to blow up the mountain last time? Take out those too. If the corpse crows rush down later, blow it up. The little girl said ferociously. Duanyu looked at her very helplessly and aggrievedly. But the core ravaging thunder is very difficult to create. Ever since we parted ways at Hullen Mountain, I have only made one. If I use it now. Use it. The little girl patted the young man's waist. Actually, she wanted to pat his back, but she was too short. But I only have one. The little girl glared fiercely at the young man in front of her. In less than 3 seconds, the young man was defeated. He pouted and said, 2 by 2 then. I'll give it all to you. After taking the 2 core ravaging thunders from the miserable young man and putting them in his pocket, the little fellow turned his head to look at the corpse puppet that was roaring with all its might in the encirclement. That zombie was basically under the control of the mystic cultivators. Although he was a level 3 zombie, he couldn't do anything when he fought alone and encountered a team led by Su Shanshan, a level 7 mystic cultivator. No matter how ferocious he was, Su Shanshan's 2 bursts of mystic energy was enough to make this zombie collapse. Everyone followed the little girl's instructions and slashed at the zombie's head with their mystic energy-imbued weapons. The old man lying on the ground revealed a bone-deep hatred in his eyes. He pounded the ground and bellowed, "You bunch of brats, you think you can subdue it like this?" Bang bang bang! The wooden doors of several surrounding rooms cracked open at the same time, and groups of zombies staggered out. They looked around in a daze before suddenly pouncing at Su Shanshan and the others. Chapter 199. Bang! Bang! Arbor fired several bolts in succession with his crossbow. Each bolt could blast open a zombie's head without missing a target. This type of normal crossbow could only fire 5 bolts in succession at most. Thus, after Arbor killed 5 zombies, he did not install more bolts in the crossbow. Instead, he put away the crossbow and swung his fists. Mystic energy erupted, and beams of white light shot toward the zombies' heads that surrounded him, attacking them indiscriminately. In the chaotic battle, the 7 or 8 Qinghe Town townsfolk held their heads and dodged to the side in horror. One of them was hit by the mystic energy ejected by the mystic cultivator and fell to the ground with a wail. Ajin hugged the 2 children and hurriedly shouted at the crowd, "Stop! Listen to me, all of you stop!" The young mystic cultivator, Yang Shu, paused in his attack and was almost caught by a zombie that pounced out from the side. A mystic light suddenly exploded on the zombie's hands. Following that, a black ferrule floated into the air and swung at the zombie's head, causing it to explode. The ferrule returned to Arbor's hand after a smooth black ink. Yang Shu was startled, then hastily turned his head and nodded gratefully at Arbor. Thank you." Arbor coldly swept his gaze over Yang Shu and Ajin. He harshly rebuked in his soft childish voice, "Soft-hearted. They've all been infected and have entered the incubation period. In essence, they're no longer your kind. Being merciful will only cause your own deaths. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Once these people complete the incubation period and completely mutate into zombies, they'll become level 2 zombies or higher." Yang Shu lowered his head in shame. He was actually not as decisive as a little girl. He had truly been foolish for so many years. "Kill them all." Arbor coldly threw down this sentence and ignored Ajin and the others. He turned and flew to eldest senior sister Su Shanshan's side to help deal with the several dozen zombies that surged out of the side room. How could you? How could you be so cruel?" Ajin's expression instantly changed as he hugged the 2 children. Could it be that the child meant to kill everyone present? But they were just some innocent townspeople of Qinghe Town. There were actually 40 to 50 zombies hidden in the rooms on the 2nd floor. However, most of them were only level 1 zombies, and they were facing a group of mystic cultivators and body cultivators. Within a few minutes, Arbor's group disposed of all the zombies. As soon as he turned around, the old mayor of Qinghe town abruptly jumped up from the ground and opened his mouth to howl. His old body swayed as he raised his hand to grab Arbor. The mouth was wide open beyond the scope of a normal human being, and a distorted old face was infinitely enlarged in front of Arbor. Bang! The child stretched out his leg and kicked the old man in the stomach. Even the surrounding companions felt their hearts skip a beat. They felt that this kick should be very painful on the old man's body. The old man curled up his body and twitched on the ground for a while. He struggled to stand up. Arbor didn't wait for him to get up and smacked him on the head with his ferrule. With a soft pop, the old man's head exploded like a smashed watermelon. The townspeople of Qinghe town trembled as they looked at the little devil in front of them. Everyone huddled together with fear on their faces. Disperse. Search all the rooms on the second floor, Su Shanshan ordered with a cold expression. Pay attention to the situation. Don't let these zombies touch you. Babies, don't worry. The author is going out. 8:30 p.m. Speaking of which, the author just ate watermelon, melon yesterday. Chapter 200. The entire team moved, quickly rushing to the rooms on both sides in groups of 2 or 3. Knocking sounds rang out as several rooms were broken open at the same time. A thick smell of blood assaulted their nostrils, causing them to involuntarily cover their noses and hold their breaths. Senior Sister Su, quickly come and look. Yugue covered her nose with one hand as she stared at one of the rooms in shock. Su Shanshan and Xue Xiao hurriedly walked over. Yugue moved to the side to make way. More than a dozen women and children with unfocused gazes were tied up in the room, and each of their mouths was stuffed with something, preventing them from making any noise. The child's gaze was abnormally cold. He stepped on the corpses of the zombies and slowly walked to the townspeople. Are you still unwilling to speak the truth at a time like this? Ajin was completely baffled, but he still tightly hugged the 2 children. He turned to look at a short woman who was wiping her tears with her head lowered. Qing, tell me, what exactly is going on? Why did you lock Granny Wang and the others in the room? What exactly are you doing? Ajin's arms tightly wrapped around the 2 timid children as he anxiously asked the woman called Qing. The young woman, who had been sobbing and wiping her tears with her head lowered, suddenly stopped her vexing cries when she heard Ajin's question. She slowly raised her head. A pair of eyes with very heavy dark circles narrowed slightly as she coldly looked at Ajin. He couldn't react for a moment when this expression appeared on his usually virtuous wife. Qing suddenly pounced over and raised her hand, looking like she was about to slap the middle-aged body cultivator. However, before her hand could touch the body cultivator, it was brushed away by a vibrating mystic energy. Qing fell heavily to the ground and groaned in pain as she clutched her nearly broken palm. Why did you attack her? Ajin agitatedly turned to glare at Arbor and angrily shouted, Qing is only a normal girl. As a powerful mystic cultivator, don't you feel ashamed attacking a normal person? Not at all. Qiao Mu coldly replied with 2 words. You. Ajin's eyes widened in anger. Shut up. Xue Xiao impatiently roared and pointed her sword at Ajin. If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish right now. Don't endanger your teammates. Xiao Xiao. Su Shanshan calmly pressed down Xue Xiao's arm and looked at Ajin with a frown. I thought you were a qualified teammate all the way here, but now, I have to say that you have disappointed us greatly. Duan Yu flung out a silver glint and directly cut open Qing's arm. He glanced at Ajin indifferently. Look at her arm clearly. If you had been scratched by her just now, I'm afraid you would have joined their ranks very soon. Little junior sister saved you, and you still have the cheek to talk back to her. You've been training outside for so many years and are so much older than others, yet you're still so naive. I really don't know what you've been training for all these years. Duan Yu glanced at the dumbstruck Ajin again. Qing's arm had already turned slightly black, and the bones in her fingers were abnormally curled. Soon, spikes would grow out of her fingertips, and after the incubation period, she would become a level 2 zombie. Arjun looked at his virtuous wife with a face full of shock. Suddenly he raised his head and cried out, "Why is it like this? You still have the cheek to ask me?" Arjun clutched her arm and staggered to her feet. She glared at Arjun with burning fury in her eyes. Chapter 201. When the children and I were in danger, where were you? When the children and I were on the brink of death, where were you? When the children and I were short of food and rice, and had nothing, and were about to starve to death, where were you? The 3 consecutive heavy questions made Arjun dizzy and his face pale. He hugged the 2 children's shoulders tightly, trembling all over as he looked at his wife, who questioned him with tears and blood. You still have the face to question me? The young woman finally stood up, pounding her chest hard as she shouted herself hoarse. If I hadn't sought refuge with the mayor, if I hadn't racked my brains and struggled at death's door to survive with the children, do you think that, after more than 10 days, would you still be able to see me and the children? Arjun knelt on the ground powerlessly with a thud. A grown man actually cried on the spot with tears streaming down his face. We're just ordinary people. The young woman approached Arbor and the others step by step, shouting with all her might, "We just want to try our best to survive. 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 Is it wrong to do this too?" The second floor of the Qingfeng Academy was dead silent. Everyone slowly fell silent under the woman's questioning voice, and for a moment, they were actually speechless. The young woman sobbed, her voice trembling as she said, "We're not like the lords who have the ability to protect themselves and have supreme power. You were able to survive in such a terrible world. How would you know how fragile the lives of ordinary people are? There's indeed nothing wrong with wanting to fight for your life." Su Shanshan nodded lightly. "However, in order to fight for your life, you turn a blind eye to the lives of your companions and raise your companions as food for the level 3 zombie. This kind of inhumane method really can't be accepted by others." Arbor raised his head slightly, and a faint smile flashed through his eyes as he looked deeply at Su Shanshan across the crowd. Eldest senior sister was extraordinarily intelligent. As expected, she saw the problem with a glance. Arjun suddenly covered her face and cried bitterly. Arjun cried as he pounded the ground and looked up at his wife. "Is what she said true? Is it? Where are your father-in-law and mother-in-law? Did you also give your father-in-law and mother-in-law to the zombie as food?" Arjun suddenly cried and knelt down, her tears soaking her clothes. She couldn't help but shake her head and say, "I didn't want to. I didn't want to either." Su Shanshan's cold eyes stared fixedly at Arjun, who was crying on the ground. She said softly and firmly, "For the sake of our lives, we can choose to lose our dignity. But at the very least, as humans, the bottom line that we must uphold is something that we absolutely cannot lose." In front of Arjun's eyes, the scene of her parents crying silently flashed past. In front of her eyes, the lively and cute children of her brothers and sisters flashed past. For the sake of survival, she had already completely abandoned her own nature, and had already completely abandoned these close relatives of hers. Arjun sobbed and murmured, I'm sorry. There was no turning back now. After the zombie tide broke out in the town, we were forced to move here. Arjun silently shed tears and said softly, "But soon, some of us died of illness, and the nightmare began. After the mayor's son and daughter-in-law died, they both mutated. It's this level 3 zombie that you're talking about. He's the mayor's son. The mayor said that he had a way to control this pair of powerful zombies, but he requested that we provide one of the townspeople as food every day." Chapter 202. Your Excellency, you're right. It's truly very lowly and pitiful to lose our dignity and struggle at death's door like this. Arjun closed her eyes. We've already thrown away too much in order to survive. We've completely lost ourselves and have no future. But in reality, the little girl was right. We were still infected in the end. Ching turned to look at Arbor and cried with a bitter smile. We discovered this situation 2 days ago. One of the townspeople suddenly mutated. My hand and the children's hands were all scratched by her. Jin's entire body was cold, and his hands were trembling. Bit by bit, he removed the tattered clothes on the 2 children's arms. His gaze was fixed on the bruises on the children's arms. Such a big man hugged the 2 children and cried until he lost his voice. Everyone was silent, unable to say a word. Even the most cold-hearted person could feel some kind of emotion flowing in their hearts. Your Excellency, just kill us. Ching silently shed tears and slowly lowered her head. Even if you don't kill us, we won't be able to survive in a few more days. We'll even become terrifying monsters that other people loathe. I'm only an ordinary woman. I've lived my life without any dignity. But this time... Ching's voice was choked with sobs. I want to die with dignity, with my children. Together forever. A faint trace of regret flitted through Su Shanshan's cold eyes. Your Excellencies, please don't kill the mayor's son for now. If you bring him out, those crows in the sky won't wantonly attack you, Ching said. The mayor's daughter-in-law is even more powerful. After you leave, you must remember to be extremely careful. Also, the imperial court sent a troop of soldiers here earlier. They're sealed off at the northern farm. A townspeople with dark circles suddenly spoke. Because powerful zombies like the mayor's son and daughter-in-law appeared here, those low-level zombies that mutated at the beginning didn't seem to dare to come over. However, they're gathered at the farm. If possible. I hope that your Excellencies can save even more people. Don't let them become as miserable as us. Tears silently welled up in the eyes of the senior sisters from the Holy Water sect. They pursed their lips and couldn't bear to look at Ching and the other townspeople anymore, so they all turned their heads away. Ching, this time, our family will not be separated again. Jin stopped crying and hugged the 2 children tightly. He looked up at his wife. No. Ching was shocked. She shook her head and said, Go. I don't want you here. You are no longer qualified to die with us. Ching. Jin carried the 2 children to his wife and held her hands tightly. No, I'm qualified. From now on, I will no longer abandon you and the children for the sake of pursuing illusory strength. We will be together forever, forever, forever. Ching pursed her lips tightly and tears rolled down her cheeks. Although her body was cold, when she clenched her fists, it was incomparably hot. Even her dead heart began to thump, 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 thump. Have you decided? Su Shanshan stared coldly at the middle-aged body cultivator. Yes. The middle-aged body cultivator stood up and bowed with one hand across his chest. Thank you, my teammates, for your support and help along the way. I want to be willful one last time to be with the person I love the most. I wish you all the best on this trip. She only turned her head away and couldn't hold back her tears anymore. Okay. We respect your decision. Su Shanshan nodded lightly. Everyone stood before this middle-aged body cultivator with awe and respect. They raised their hands in unison and bowed with one hand across their chests. We wish you all the best, our friend. Xiao Mu took a deep breath and blinked before turning around and heading downstairs first. Duan Yu's gaze followed the child. It wasn't until everyone tied up the level 3 zombie to the first floor that they heard a muffled explosion from the second floor. Chapter 203. Watching his teammates go to their deaths with smiles on their faces as they reunited with their families, he felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Arbor reflexively clenched her small fists and raised her head slightly. She felt like she was standing alone on the edge of a cliff. Her vision was blurry in the boundless darkness, and she couldn't hear or see anything. Suddenly, a pair of gentle hands picked her up and gently patted her back. Arbor smelled a familiar scent and laid her small head on Su Shanshan's shoulder. Her muffled voice came from her shoulder. Eldest senior sister. Don't be afraid. Eldest senior sister will protect you. The child's heart skipped a beat and she didn't move away from Su Shanshan's shoulder for a long time. Only Su Shanshan felt a drop of iciness rolling down her neck. The child softly murmured, "Eldest senior sister, if only I had met you earlier." If she had met eldest senior sister in her previous life, no matter what happened in the end, she wouldn't have had to fight to the death for her dignity and honor. Su Shanshan's heart tightened. For some reason, she felt that when the child softly murmured those words, her heart seemed to be filled with sorrow. "You won't be alone." Su Shanshan strode forward with the child in her arms. Xue Xiao and Li Ling dragged the trussed-up corpse puppet. The group took a deep breath and moved toward the entrance of Qing Feng Academy. After everyone moved away the tables and chairs blocking the entrance, Xue Xiao and Li Ling dragged the level 3 corpse puppet to the front of the group. Although Ah Qing said that with this level 3 corpse puppet in hand, the flock of corpse crows in the sky would be more cautious, everyone's hearts were still hanging by a thread. They all entered a tense state of preparation for battle. After Xue Xiao and Li Ling dragged the level 3 corpse puppet out of the door, the group of people behind them walked over. Everyone was a few steps away from the two of them. They looked up at the sky and saw the flock of corpse crows hovering in the sky. Sure enough, they were just hovering in the sky and didn't show any signs of swooping down. Only then did their suspended hearts slightly relax. Su Shanshan promptly said with the child in her arms, "Go north." The group from Heavenly Dao sect went north, but according to the townsfolk of Qinghe Town, a large number of corpse puppets had gathered there. There were even troops sent by the imperial court that were trapped there. "I hope things aren't that bad." The child held the 2 core ravaging thunders in her pocket. She didn't want to use these 2 hidden weapons that could blow up half a mountain unless it was absolutely necessary. Although the core ravage thunder was powerful, its sound was also abnormally terrifying. Such a sound would gather a large number of zombies. Even the zombies outside Qinghe Town within a 50-kilometer radius would be attracted. The group ran towards the north of Qinghe Town. They didn't run far before they saw a group of people from the Daybreak sect led by Shang Kuan rushing toward them in a very sorry state. When the two teams met, Shang Kuan rushed towards Xue Xiao and Li Ling and shouted anxiously, "Run!" A large flock of black corpse crows was coming from that direction. "3 of our teammates are trapped inside and haven't made it out. Captain, look." A member of Shang Kuan's team pointed at the flock of corpse crows circling above Xue Xiao and the others. The heavens really wanted them dead. The flock of corpse crows that Xue Xiao and the others brought over was at least 10 times more than the ones they encountered. Wait, under the siege of so many corpse crows, how did Xue Xiao's team come here unscathed? Chapter 204. Shang Kuan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. "Oh my god! What the hell is this? Xue Xiao and the others are so capable." With such a large flock of corpse crows behind them, they didn't even bat an eyelid. They even had the leisure to wave and greet them. "Senior brother Shang, you're here too. Just in time, let's not go to the central bridge. Come with us to the north to find the people from Tiandao sect." "Who's just in time with you?" Shang Kuan really wanted to curse. Are these women crazy? They clearly know that there are so many corpse crows circling the sky, yet they can still maintain their composure. "Xiong Yan, Xiong Li, are you okay?" A young man in Shang Kuan's team quickly walked out and ran to the two. "We're fine, Brother Guran. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go north together." Xiong Li nodded. "We sacrificed 3 of our brothers." Shang Kuan wiped his sweat. Originally, their team only had 18 people because they chased away Qiao Wanwan and her husband. Now, the team only had 15 people left. "We're also missing 2 teammates." Xue Xiao didn't say anything more to Shang Kuan. She dragged the level 3 corpse puppet that was tied up like a dumpling and quickly headed north. Only then did Shang Kuan and the others realize that this group of fierce girls actually kidnapped a ferocious-looking corpse puppet. They even crazily stuffed the corpse puppet's mouth with a lump of mud so that it couldn't roar. It could only stare with a distorted face. "Is this something that girls can do?" Shang Kuan shuddered for no reason, exchanging glances with his fellow disciples. "Let's go." Xue Xiao and Li Ling dragged the corpse puppet and continued to run forward. The group immediately followed their footsteps, walking side by side. Second, senior brother, let's follow them. Look, those corpse crows in the sky don't seem to have any intention of attacking them. Shang Kuan felt that the girls were a bit unreliable. However, if they turned around and left now, the large flock of corpse crows would definitely chase after them and bite them. They almost couldn't handle 1/10 of the corpse crows before. Could they handle it now? The answer was naturally no. Shang Kuan immediately led the team and followed behind. The group of more than 30 people rushed towards the northern farm. What came into view was a large brownish-yellow field. There were traces of planting on the ground, but most of the crops had withered. The remaining edible plants had probably been picked clean by the townspeople when the chaos began. The farm was right behind the field, but halfway through, they saw 2 severed limbs. Looks like they were attacked as well. The group did not stop. They continued to run forward until they reached the entrance of the farm. Then, they drew in a breath of cold air. There were at least 200 to 300 level 2 zombies blocking the main entrance. They were all swaying and banging against the door and walls, looking extremely stiff. The farm was surrounded by a large wall. The main entrance was a wooden fence. At this moment, there were at least 30 to 50 zombies blocking the entrance of the wooden fence. They were all foolishly ramming themselves against the fence that was on the verge of collapse while letting out loud roars. Situ Yi and the rest carried a lot of logs over and piled them at the entrance. The group of people hid behind the logs and released their profound energy at the zombie horde. However, this wouldn't last for long. Mystic Cultivator's profound energy was not inexhaustible. A genius young mystic cultivator like Situ Yi could continuously release profound energy for no more than an hour. Once profound energy was completely exhausted, it was a very troublesome matter. Its recovery would become abnormally slow. Chapter 205. A blue storage talisman floated in front of Arba. Previously, she had stored half of her bows and arrows in this blue talisman to deal with unexpected situations like this. After all, it was very difficult for the Heart of Paradise to be exposed in front of everyone. However, talismans were different. Even if people knew that she was a talisman practitioner, it didn't matter. Moreover, at her age, very few people would link the creation of these talismans to her. 15 bows and arrows, along with a pile of arrowheads, poured out of the talisman and poured out in front of everyone. Storage talismans. Shang Kuan and the others dazedly looked at the little girl with slight astonishment. Those skilled in archery, take a bow and follow me. Arba took a bow and waved at everyone. Don't waste mystic energy. Pay attention to preserving your strength. Excellent. Xue Xiao picked up a bow with one hand and hugged a large pile of arrowheads. She chuckled. I'll broaden your horizons and let you see how great this lady's equestrian archery is. Count me in. Me. Among the 15 people, there were both body cultivators and mystic cultivators. They picked up their bows and followed Arba's small figure. Those level 2 zombies circled around the high wall and foolishly gathered together. Naturally, there wouldn't be dozens of them gathered in every place. Arba deliberately led everyone to a place with fewer zombies and randomly picked a place where only a dozen or so zombies were gathered. Everyone knocked their arrows. Without needing Arba to say anything, the arrowheads uniformly shot towards the zombies' heads. As a man, Shang Kuan naturally felt embarrassed to hide behind a group of little girls, so he naturally took a bow and shot. Unfortunately, his technique was poor, so the first arrow missed and stuck into the wall. This angered the targeted zombie, which turned its head and wobbled toward him with bared fangs and brandished claws. Whoosh! The child's arrow exploded that zombie's head. Shang Kuan's arm trembled slightly. When he turned to look, he saw the child, who wasn't even half his height, using her strength alone to draw a bow that was the size of her body. Her eyes were covered in a layer of deep ice, and no trace of a smile could be seen. Were all children this terrifying these days? Let's go. Arbor was the first to jump off the embankment and dash towards the wall at an extremely fast speed. As he ran, he smoothly released 2 arrows in a row, directly shooting the 2 corpse hags that were swaying toward him, causing them to fall backwards. The group of senior sisters from the Holy Water sect rapidly followed behind her, and they couldn't help but praise her in their hearts when they saw this. No wonder Aunt Master, said that little junior sister didn't need them to worry about her at all. Their little junior sister was truly outstanding and dazzling. The child leaped and bounced up. His small figure swiftly moved over the tall wall and landed steadily with one hand on the ground. After that, everyone carried their bows and arrows and leaped over the wall and landed behind the child. Before they could even catch their breaths, everyone rushed straight towards the pile of logs where Situ-E and the others were. When Situ-E and the others heard the sound of something heavy falling to the ground, they nervously looked at the side of the wall, thinking that some zombie had climbed over the wall. In the end, they saw a group of teammates running towards them. At this moment, everyone in the Tiandao Sex group felt their hearts heat up. They excitedly stood up from behind the pile of logs. "How is everyone?" Su Shanshan led everyone over in quick steps. "Senior Sister Su, everyone's here." Situ-E looked at the people behind Su Shanshan with a moved expression. "We're in the same team. If we're leaving, we'll naturally leave together." Su Shanshan tilted her head. Her gaze was as cold as usual, but her words made everyone's blood boil. Chapter 206. Situ-E, how's your archery? The child's soft voice suddenly rang out. "It should be pretty good." Situ-E turned to the child upon hearing that. Looking at that little stoic face, he pursed his lips and smiled. "Give it to him." The child glanced at Shang Kuan. Although she was expressionless, everything was conveyed without words. Blinded by shaking hands. Wasted arrows. The latter. Why do I feel like I'm being deeply despised by the child? Clear these at the entrance. We'll charge out. The child took the lead and shot an arrow at one of the zombies surrounding the fence, sending it flying backward and crashing to the ground. Such astonishing arm strength caused everyone present to cast admiring gazes at her. As expected, the children of other sects were also outstanding. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! Arrows were fired continuously. Everyone drew their bows and shot repeatedly at the group of corpses blocking the gate. Seeing that half of the zombies were quickly cleared, everyone was delighted. Su Shanshan led everyone closer to the fence. Once the remaining zombies were cleared out, they could charge out from the entrance. However, at this moment, an extremely sharp roar suddenly rang out from outside the tall wall. That sound rushed straight to everyone's eardrums, giving them a terrifying shock. A few superhumans without cultivation bore the brunt of the impact, and their ears immediately bled from the shock. Boom! A row of walls next to the fence was the first to shatter, and rocks fell to the ground in a disorderly manner. The zombies that were originally wandering outside the walls swarmed in through the holes created by the shock. Everyone's expressions changed, and the arrows in their hands flew even faster as mystic energy radiated. The body cultivators waved the swords in their hands and swept away the chopped logs to hit the charging zombies. Roar! That terrifying roar rang out from outside the walls again. Pfft! A superhuman was injured by the shock and spat out a mouthful of blood. His companions hurriedly supported him and dragged him to the back. More and more zombies stepped in from the flattened walls and swayed toward Su Shanshan, Situ-E, and the others. The most terrifying thing was that the black zombie crows that were originally merely circling in the sky seemed to be summoned and slowly gathered together, about to launch an all-out attack. It's a level 3 mutated zombie. It's that mayor's daughter-in-law? Quick, let's go. Let's go inside. Senior Brother Wang beckoned everyone to run into the greenhouse. This wooden shed was built with round logs, so it didn't have much resistance on its own. However, it could at least provide some shelter. It was better than being exposed to the open air. When the last person rushed into the large shed, he saw that the outside was covered in black clouds and countless corpse crows were circling in the air. Everyone, pay attention. Situ-E shouted with a solemn expression. As the countless cadaveric crows swooped down, he took out something from his pocket and smashed it on the ground. After a loud bang, an arc-shaped protective shield suddenly surrounded everyone in it. If it were any other time, everyone would fight to admire a defensive profound armament. But now, who would have the time and energy to do so? Dong 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 dong. Terrifying crashing sounds were emitted from the transparent protective shield. Countless corpse crows seemed to be enjoying the thrill of crashing as they dove down mindlessly. Soon, even the wooden frame at the top of the shed was lifted by the cadaveric crows. Roar! A level 3 mutated zombie puppet with long hair jumped down from the roof of the tent and stared at the people inside the tent. Chapter 207. When the level 3 zombie jumped down, it happened to come into close contact with Liu Yexin, who was inside the barrier. How close was it? It was so close that their noses were practically touching through the barrier. Ah! Liu Yexin let out a high-pitched shriek, scaring all the teammates around her. That's enough. They weren't scared to death by the zombie but were nearly scared to death by your shriek. If word got out, they would laugh their heads off. The level 3 zombie clawed at the transparent barrier, producing a clang. Go 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 go! Senior Brother Wong shouted. Everyone supported each other, and some brawny men directly carried the injured. Everyone ran toward the back of the large shed with the transparent barrier. Liu Yexin ran in the middle of the team, stumbling and crooking. The people around her were unlucky and kept being bumped around by her. However, seeing that a young girl like her was trembling in fear at this terrifying scene, the others didn't say much. However, compared to Liu Yexin's trembling legs, Qiao Mu's calm and composed gaze appeared a bit abnormal. She was 5 years younger than Liu Yexin. You're not scared. Duanyu ran beside the child and saw how fast she moved and jumped. If it weren't for the many people blocking the way, the child probably would have reached the front by now. You can just imagine it as a plaything that can jump. What's there to be scared of? As Qiao Mu said this, she even found time to pat the youth's waist. Don't be scared, I'm here. Duanyu, why did he freaking have the urge to laugh? If it weren't for the wrong place and time, all his teammates would have laughed. Are you sure you're not trying to be funny by expressionlessly saying this in such a soft and cute voice? Duanyu looked up at the sky speechlessly. Say, don't you think it's very ugly and disgusting? It's disgusting. The child leaped over the logs on the ground. But you'll get used to it after looking at it too much. How the heck can you get used to it? Duanyu, why do I feel like I'm talking to a non-human? I suspect that you're not a human from Seekong planet. You might be a little monster from another star field. Su Shanshan, whose eyes were cold, couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. Little junior sister was really a classic little person. Shui Xiao couldn't help but laugh out loud. Junior sister is right, young man, you've seen too little. You'll get used to it if you see it more often. Why don't we turn back now, block that level 3 zombie, and interact with it more? I have to thank your entire family. Duanyu fell silent. I'm a young man, so I don't argue with little girls. That would be ungentlemanly. Everyone, run. There's a closed support shed in front of us, and it seems to be quite sturdy. Senior Brother Wong shouted, and led the team straight ahead. Everyone also saw the closed shed at the same time. All the logs in the shed were tied together with very thick ropes. It was indeed much stronger than the previous shed. Let's go in and hide first. There were 7 or 8 injured special ability users in the team who needed to go in and adjust. Everyone's nerves were stretched taut the entire way, and when they reached the closed shed, their breathing was very rapid. Liu Yexin flew forward and kicked open the shed's door, wanting to run inside first. Senior Brother Wong quickly grabbed her hand. Junior Sister Liu, don't be rash. Let's see the situation first. Ah! Liu Yexin screamed. Chapter 208. As Lu Yexin screamed, she subconsciously grabbed Senior Marshal Brother Wong's arm, her eyes filled with terror. Because when she kicked open the door to the wooden shed, she was greeted by a rotting corpse puppet with half its face missing. It pounced at her. At such a close distance, Lu Yexin was so scared that she peed her pants and almost fell to the ground. Senior Marshal Brother Wong decisively grabbed Lu Yexin and flung her backward to meet the corpse puppet head-on. A beam of mystic energy hit the puppet's head. However, the swaying corpse puppet didn't fall. Instead, it clawed at Senior Marshal Brother Wong even more ferociously. Its two hands, so rotten that the bones poked through the skin, grabbed Senior Marshal Brother Wong's neck tightly. Senior Marshal Brother Wong choked and coughed. Fortunately, Situ Yi reacted in time and hit the corpse puppet's head again with a beam of mystic light. Half of its head fell to the ground and rolled beside Lu Yexin's feet. Before Lu Yexin could scream, she was kicked twice by the furious sect brothers. "Shut up!" Senior Marshal Brother Wong let out a long sigh of relief and coughed violently several times while clutching his throat. Everyone saw that his neck was already bruised and had a faint bloodstain. It was obvious that the corpse puppet had used a lot of strength. Just as everyone breathed a sigh of relief, Aba glanced at the corpse puppet's half-head lying on the ground and suddenly raised a crossbow to aim at Senior Marshal Brother Wong's head. Everyone was shocked. Some even subconsciously tried to stop Aba. "Little junior marshal sister, what are you doing?" The child's cold voice slowly rose. "Senior Marshal Brother, you've been infected." "I'm sorry." White fur grew on its body. It was the sign of a level 3 corpse puppet. On the half-head on the ground, half of its face was clearly covered in white fur. There was a long bloodstain on Senior Marshal Brother Wong's neck. The wound had already been cut open. He had been scratched by a level 3 corpse puppet. At most, it had an incubation period of 15 days. After that, he would mutate. Only by completely erasing him now would they be able to put an end to the trouble that was about to happen. The Heavenly Tao sect brothers' eyes instantly turned red. "No, it can't be. Let's go in first." Senior Marshal Brother Wong was exceptionally calm. He ordered everyone to move into the enclosed shed. "Corpse puppet!" Xiong Yen shouted. Among the 20 or so people who were huddled in the corner, one of them stood up shakily. His lips were cracked, and he couldn't even speak clearly. "No, don't do it, my lords. We are soldiers of the Imperial Court. We are all soldiers of the North Battalion, not zombies." The soldier who spoke swallowed hard and finished his sentence. Xiong Yen blocked the door with his hand. Although everyone had entered the house, they were still on high alert. Gourmet said, "Just now, a level 3 corpse puppet jumped out from among you. You must have been scratched as well." "No, I didn't," the soldier explained with difficulty. "We've been trapped here for about 4 to 5 days. That guy started acting weird last night. Sir, we tied him up." Who knew that he would suddenly break free and rush to the door? Another soldier weakly grabbed a broken rope and smiled bitterly. "We really don't have the strength to stop him." For a moment, the atmosphere was stifling. Then, a series of banging sounds came from the top of the wooden shed. Everyone looked up. The level 3 mutated corpse puppet was lying on the wooden shed and hammering the shed. Chapter 209. Senior Brother Wong. Everyone looked at Senior Brother Wong with bloodshot eyes, then turned to look at Lu Yexin, who was trembling in fear. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't rashly barged in, how could Senior Brother Wong have been infected?" Under the pressure of everyone's gazes, the little girl trembled in fright. Her knees suddenly gave way, and she knelt on the ground with a plop. She repeatedly kowtowed while weeping bitterly. Sorry, Senior Brother Wong. It's all my fault. Sorry. Senior Brother Wong, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." Bam, bam, bam. Lu Yexin kowtowed more than 10 times without any discount, and her forehead was bruised from kowtowing. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and her face was flushed red from holding it in. It was her fault. It was her fault. If she hadn't been as willful, reckless, and cowardly as a mouse. If she hadn't insisted on following Senior Brother Situ to train because her father was the vice hallmaster, Senior Brother Wong wouldn't have been harmed. She truly regretted her past actions. Looking at everyone's accusing gazes, she simply couldn't accept the reality that Senior Brother Wong was about to die because of her. I didn't expect you to have the time to quarrel here. Arbor coldly changed the subject and aimed her crossbow at Senior Brother Wong again. Apologies, Senior Brother. Senior Brother Wong laughed bitterly. A young mystic cultivator from Heavenly Tao sect suddenly blocked in front of Senior Brother Wong. Little junior sister, why are you so cold and unyielding? We've been companions for so long, so how can you attack just like that? Whoosh! An arrow brushed past the young mystic cultivator's throat and shot straight into the pile of wood. The young mystic cultivator was dumbfounded. If you want to die with him, I don't mind having a companion on the road to the Yellow Springs. The little girl's voice was cold without any warmth. The young mystic cultivator trembled and subconsciously moved to the side. A trace of mockery flitted through Arbor's eyes. Hypocrite! Look, you're not that fearless. In the face of life and death, human nature is selfish. This isn't shameful. What's shameful is that you're clearly selfish but still pretend to be noble. The little girl's cold words chilled everyone's hearts. The young mystic cultivator, in particular, was unable to retort and lowered his head in shame. Silence. There was no other sound other than the sound of something hitting the top of their heads. Junior sister. Senior Brother Wong smiled bitterly. Will I immediately turn into a zombie? You will have an incubation period of 15 days. But... Arbor looked at him meaningfully. The feeling of counting the days and waiting for death is not very pleasant. Senior Brother Wong suddenly laughed. I'm not afraid of death. Don't worry, little junior sister. Before we leave Qinghe Town, I will give you a complete explanation. Arbor looked at him deeply. I'm sorry, Senior Brother Wong. From his previous life until now, there had been no cure for the zombie infection. If she met with misfortune, she would personally deal with herself. Because being a walking corpse was even less dignified and arrogant than being in his previous life. Rather than struggling at death's door to live, it was better to die as he pleased. Chow Mu walked up to those North Camp soldiers with small steps. Those unlucky ones who were scared out of their wits kept retreating. They felt that the child in front of them was a very scary person who would attack without warning. Arbor tossed them a bag of pears. If you can move after eating, stand up by yourselves. Each and every one of you is like a bear. You're really smearing your master's reputation when you go out. The soldiers. Why did they feel angry yet speechless? Chapter 210. Just what kind of child was she? They originally thought she was a child with a heart as cold as a knife and a heart as hard as iron. But the moment he turned around, he was able to hand over precious fruits to a total stranger. This child was a person brimming with contradictions and enigma to begin with. The soldier took out a pear and fiercely bit into it, as if he wanted to chew and swallow the words, Xiong Sisi. This wooden shed can last for about 7 minutes at most, Arbor said indifferently. Is everyone ready? Ready. Everyone's voices were a bit hoarse. Ready to fight to the end. Ready for the possibility of sacrifice at all times. Everyone held their breaths as they waited. The mystic cultivators were doing their best to recover the mystic energy in their bodies. Perhaps we will die here today. Arbor's expression was still indifferent. Even in the face of this kind of crisis, she still had that familiar stoic face. But before we die, we must do our best to obliterate these corpses that intend to humiliate us. The child's words made everyone's breathing tighten, and the blood in their bodies boiled endlessly. Kill. Someone raised their sword and roared. Everyone's blood boiled as they roared. Bam! The roof of the shed was finally overturned by the persevering level 3 zombie. That thing howled as it jumped down. Its head was covered by long hair, and the two eyes hidden within seemed to be looking at the level 3 zombie beside Arbor. Arbor cleaved down with her ferrule and cleanly chopped off the level 3 zombie's head. Everyone, weren't they hostages? Just kill them like that, alright? Roar, roar, roar. The level 3 zombie went crazy. He shoveled up the wooden shed with his fists and kicks. With a leap, its protruding eyes locked onto Arbor, and it quickly pounced over. Bam! Arbor raised the flying ferrule in her hand and ruthlessly slapped the zombie's face. With a shriek, the intoxicating sound immediately caused one of the body cultivators to spit out a mouthful of blood. He fell back with a dispirited expression and rolled outside the group, breaking away from the protective shield. A flock of zombie crows blotted out the sky and rushed over with a whoosh. In just a few seconds, that body cultivator was completely surrounded. When they flapped their rotting wings and left, everyone could only see a skeleton standing on the spot. Soon, the skeleton crumbled into pieces. Roar! The rank 3 zombie puppet let out an angry roar, and the flock of corpse crows circling in the sky suddenly locked onto Arbor. They flapped their wings and screamed hoarsely as they merged into a huge black ball. There were so many of them that one couldn't see the end of them. They rolled towards Arbor. Little junior sister. The holy water sex senior sisters broke away from the protective barrier and pounced on that little person. However, at this critical moment, a fiery red light suddenly appeared on the horizon. It was connected to the burning red clouds, and the entire sky was dyed red. The child's slow little heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly realized that his little body was already flying into the sky uncontrollably. What to do? Could it be the nouveau riche crown prince? Why is he here? He wouldn't slap her old ass face, but, in public, would he? The kid was dumbfounded. His body was surrounded by a pure-colored light. Countless cadaveric crows were shattered by the light before they could even get close. The nouveau riche crown prince's mystic energy was too dense. Before she could think carefully, her little body fell into a certain person's embrace. Heh heh. A cold and magnetic voice rang out beside her ear. Chow Mu's stoic face involuntarily stiffened. What should she do? She could feel his displeasure from this laughter. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.